Buying Twitter for $44 billion, Musk's time as CEO has been a whirlwind. Shares of Musk's other major company, Tesla, have plummeted more than 30% since he took over Twitter. As is often the case, his next...
I think I just realized I had the audio off again. Sorry, guys. So I was showing earlier. So we're going to be watching the All-In Summit, specifically with Elon Musk and his appearance there. It's going to be about an hour long. I'm running it at 1.25. It's going to be great. So we'll be watching that. Also, I was complaining a little bit ago because somebody copyrighted me for this morning's market open, saying that it was a Duke versus some other football team or basketball fucking thing. Somebody's been attacking me. I think it's because of my political views, or maybe they're just frightened because they think I'm going to be a competitor to them. I don't know who it is, but here's the thing. I ain't fucking going anywhere. I'm disputing every single one of them. You guys can suck it. Anyway, let's get back to Elon Musk. I'll be providing commentary along the way. Thank you for everybody that is here and that participates in it. You're gonna enjoy this video. It's a good one, guys. Here we go.
Next move is unclear.
I go as far to say that he's demonstrating some erratic behavior.
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
Elon Musk's cooperation and/or relationships with other countries is worthy of being looked at.
The Biden administration has just announced its second investigation into Elon Musk in less than a week.
Both Tesla and SpaceX, there's a product roadmap that they're on, and that whether Elon is in the building or not is not going to impact the plan that they have.
People said he'd never get the rocket in space. He did that. People said the Roadster would never get delivered. He did that. People said he'd never get 100 of them done. He's got 200 done. As an entrepreneur, you can't listen to the noise. You certainly can't listen to losers who have never accomplished anything with their life, who are obsessing about you. Please.
Jason looks so shabby.
We're out there among the stars, and we're a multi-planet species across many planets and many star systems. This is a great future, and that's what we should strive for.
Yes.
Twitter customer support at your service.
Nearly every VC I speak with, every CEO, is looking to Elon's behavior and saying that's a model for how you can challenge your team to achieve the impossible in an impossibly difficult environment.
And you can see those grid pins on your left-hand screen rotating and turning to guide the booster, and there's that landing burn. Landing burn just begun, and you can see the water below, and we have splashdown. What an incredible flight.
He's just a visionary like I've never seen.
How on earth would you bet against him?
Elon seems to be on track to be not only the world's richest man, but the world's first trillionaire.
Elon basically has had, over the last 10 or 15 years, an incredible amount of challenges that he's overcome. Probably had to deal with stuff that most of us would have broken under, and he just fought through it. And the guy just basically bended all the haters until he crushed their souls. And I just think that that's incredible.
I gotta say, they did massive justice. This man is hugely inspiring. SpaceX, Tesla, X, Neuralink, XAI, the Boring Company, all of it. They did him justice. This was beautiful.
The greatest entrepreneur of this generation, Elon Musk.
And if you haven't seen this, and you haven't seen some of the comedic scenes in this, guys, this is gonna blow your mind. This is one of the funniest things ever.
Hey guys.
I'm gonna take this.
All right. Thanks for taking the time. How you doing, brother? You keeping busy?
Yeah. I mean, it's rarely a slow week. I mean, in the world as well.
Yeah.
I mean, any given week, I mean, it just seems like the things get nuttier.
It's definitely a simulation. We've agreed on this at this point.
I mean, like, well, look, if we are in some alien Netflix series, I think the ratings are high.
Yes. Ratings are high. How are the freedom of speech wars going? This is you've been at war for 2 years now.
Yes.
The price of freedom of speech is not cheap, is it?
I think it's like 44 billion, something like that.
Just
round numbers.
give or take $1 billion.
Yeah, round numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty nutty. There is like this weird movement to quell free speech kind of around the world, and this is something we should be very concerned about. You know, you have to ask, like, why was the First Amendment like a high priority? It was like number one. is because people came from countries where if you spoke freely, you would be imprisoned or killed. And they were like, well, we'd like to not have that here, because that was horrible.
So impractical, right? People actually want to start limiting speech now. Even Waltz has talked about that. Why should anybody limit speech?
And actually, you know, there's a lot of places in the world right now, if you're critical of the government, you
Brazil,
get imprisoned or killed.
UK.
Right.
Yeah, and we'd like to not have that.
And are you concerned?
Can I add to that?
Yeah. I mean, I suspect this is a receptive audience to that message.
Yeah. I think we always thought that the West was the exception to that we knew there were authoritarian places around the world, but we thought that in the West we'd have freedom of speech. And we've seen, like you said, it seems like a global movement. In Britain, you've got teenagers being put in prison for memes,
Yes.
opposing.
It's like you like the Facebook post, throw them in the prison.
Yeah,
it's like people have got actual, you know, prison for like obscure comments on social media.
Not even shit posting yet.
Like not even.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Pavel got thrown in prison recently. And I'm like, that is pretty shook about that. I was like, what is the massive crime that?
Right. Pavel in France, and then of course we got Brazil with Judge Voldemort. That one seems like the one that impacts you the most. What's the latest on that?
Well, I guess we are trying to figure out, is there some reasonable solution in Brazil? The concern, I mean, I want to just make sure that this is framed correctly. Funny memes aside, the nature of the concern was that, at least at X Corp, we had the perception that we were being asked to do things that violated Brazilian law. So obviously we cannot, as an American company, impose American laws and values on other countries. We wouldn't get very far if we did that. But we do, think that if a country's laws are a particular way, and we're being asked to we think we're being asked to break them, then and be silent about it, then obviously that is no good. Mm-hmm. So I just want to be clear, because sometimes comes across as Elon's trying to just be a crazy whatever billionaire and demand outrageous things from other countries, and while that's true. In addition, there are other things that I think are valid, which is like we obviously can't. I think any given thing that we do at X Corp, we've got to be able to explain in the light of day and not feel that it was dishonorable or we did the wrong thing. So we don't. That's the nature of the concern. So we actually are in sort of discussions with the judicial authorities in Brazil to try to run this to ground. Like what's actually going on? Like if we're being asked to break the law, Brazilian law, then that obviously should not sit well with the Brazilian judiciary. And if we're not and we're mistaken, we'd like to understand how we're mistaken. I think that's a pretty reasonable.
Doesn't that seem
position.
fair?
I'm a bit concerned, as your friend, that you're going to go to one of these countries, and I'm going to wake up one day and you're going to get arrested, and like I'm going to have to go bail you out or something. Like this feels very acute. Like,
yes.
I mean, it's not a joke now. Like they're literally saying, like, it's not just Biden saying, like, we have to look into that guy. Now it's become.
I want to just say, France, Emmanuel Macron in France, literally, there's accusations that Palav or whatever his name is, that Emmanuel Macron had asked him to a lunch date and then had him arrested, and I think he got like 10 to 12 counts that they're going after. Why? Because he is the CEO of Telegram, and he didn't censor speech like they wanted him to. The same thing he left Russia to avoid was getting arrested for not censoring speech, and now the French want to censor speech. And then you have what's going on in the UK with people getting imprisoned for their thoughts. And then you have Brazil, where they tried to pass an $8,800 fine per day that would be destructive to anybody that lived there. It would ruin them overnight if they were caught on X. They've had to back that out. But the world is getting hostile towards freedom and speech. And it's not good for America or for the world or for Elon Musk. And he's fighting it, and he's fighting it head on. It's a good reason to be admired. Lift Fresh, thank you for joining, my friend.
I'm quite literal.
And also, anybody who supports me by joining, I do a market recap. I have a morning show, too, talking about the markets. I'm versed from everything from micro to macro, just like it sounds. And I will pull up. You can talk and chat if you have a membership. You can also request stocks, and I'll pull up the technicals and financials and tell you my thoughts on them.
Like this, who was the guy who just wrote the, was it the Guardian piece about like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah. Oh, and last thing, sorry. But it helps support me too, whereas right now I just got demonetized on a video I did earlier for my morning show with just bullshit. It was just bullshit about it being a Duke versus somebody game. There's none of that in here whatsoever. So I don't know who's fighting me or why, but it helps to support me if you have that membership.
There have been 3 articles, and I think in the past 3 weeks.
Robert Reich.
But it wasn't just him. It was like 3 different articles.
3 different articles.
That's a trend.
Calling for me to be imprisoned in the Guardian. You know, Guardian of what?
What are they protecting?
Guardian of what?
Yeah.
Freedom. I don't know.
Authoritarianism?
Yeah, Guardian of
Censorship?
Censorship.
But the premise here is that you bought this thing, this online forum, this communication platform, and you're allowing people to use it to express themselves. Therefore, you have to be jailed. I don't understand the logic here.
Right.
What do you think they're actually afraid of at this point? What's the motivation here?
I mean, I think if somebody's sort of trying to push a false premise on the world, then that premise can be undermined with public dialogue, then they will be opposed to public dialogue on that premise because they wish that false premise to prevail.
Right.
So that's, I think, the issue there is if they don't like the truth, then we want to suppress it. So now, what we're trying to do with X Corp is. I distinguish that from my son, who's also called X.
Yes. Right. You have parental goals, and then you have goals for the company.
Everything's just called X, basically.
Yes.
It's very difficult disambiguation.
The car, the sun.
Yeah, it's X everything. What we're trying to do is simply adhere to the laws in a country. So if something is illegal in the United States, or if it's illegal in Europe or Brazil or wherever it might be, then we will take it down and we'll suspend the account because we're not there to make the laws. But if speech is not illegal, then what are we doing? Okay, now we're injecting ourselves in as a censor, and where does it stop? And who decides?
I can tell you, history tells us it does not stop in the people that decide or whoever is in power of the government. And we don't want that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. We want debate. We want different views and ideologies. We don't want this.
So, and where does that path lead? I think it leads to a bad place. So if the people in a country want the laws to be different, they should make the laws different. But otherwise, we're going to obey the law in each jurisdiction.
Right. And some of these European...
That's it. It's not more complicated than that. We're not trying to flout the law. I'm going to be clear about that. We're trying to adhere to the law. And if the laws change, we will change. And if the laws don't change, we won't. We're just literally trying to adhere to the law.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yes, it's very straightforward. And if somebody thinks we're not adhering to the law, well, they can file a lawsuit. Bingo.
Also very straightforward.
Yes.
I mean, there are European countries that don't want people to promote Nazi propaganda.
Yes.
They have some sensitivity to it.
Well, it is illegal.
It is illegal in those countries. And in those countries, if somebody puts that up, you take it down.
Yes.
But they typically file something and say, take this down. And
no, in some cases, it is just obviously illegal. Like, you don't need to file a lawsuit for, if something is just, unequivocally illegal. We can literally read the law. This violates the law. Anyone can see that. Like, you don't need, like, if somebody is stealing, you don't need, let me check the law on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no, they're stealing
San
stuff.
Francisco.
Let's talk about, so we had JD Vance here this morning. He did a great job.
That was an amazing video too, guys. It was so good.
And one of the things is there's this image on X of basically you, Bobby, Trump, and JD are like the Avengers, I guess. And then there's another meme where you're in front of a desk where it says DOGE, the Department of Governmental Efficiency.
Yes.
I so love that. I watched that pump Doge's price. If he gets elected and he's the head of Doge, watch that pump Dogecoin. Just watch it.
Yes, I posted that one.
Tell us about
I made it using Grok, the Grok image generator.
It's great. I used it for this thumbnail.
My profile.
Seek for efficiency. How do you do it?
Well, I mean, I think with great difficulty. But look, it's been a long time since there was a serious effort to reduce the size of government and to remove absurd regulations.
Yeah.
And last time there was a really concerted effort on that front was Reagan in the early '80s. So we're 40 years away from a serious effort to remove regulations that don't serve the greater good and reduce the size of government. And I think it's just, if we don't do that, then what's happening is that we get regulations and laws accumulating every year until eventually everything's illegal. And that's why we can't get major infrastructure projects done.
To be clear, this is one thing Trump did really good during his last presidency. He removed 5.5. He promised two regulations for every one that he implemented, but he ended up removing 5.5 for every one he implemented. This next time he said he'll do better than 10x. So he's all for deregulation, which is one of the reasons why Elon likes him so much.
In the United States. Like if you look at the absurdity of the California high-speed rail, I think they spent $7 billion and have a 1,600-foot segment that doesn't actually have rail in it. I mean, your tax dollars at work, I mean...
Yeah, what are we doing?
That's an expensive 1,600 feet of concrete, you know? And I mean, I think it's like, if, you know, I realize sometimes I'm perhaps a little optimistic with schedules, but I mean, I wouldn't be doing the things I'm doing if I was, you know, not an optimist. But at the current trend, you know, California high-speed rail might finish sometime next century. Maybe.
Well,
probably not.
We'll have teleportation by that time. So.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just have AI do everything at that point. So you
actually, we'll probably have a SpaceX rocket that can launch from one location and then land on the other side of the world and get you there like in an hour.
I think you really think of, you know, the United States and many countries. It's arguably worse in the EU as being like Gulliver tied down by a million little strings, and like any one given regulation is not that bad, but you've got a million of them, and or millions actually, and then eventually just can't get anything done. And this is a massive tax on the consumer, on the people. It's just they don't realize that there's this massive tax in the form of irrational regulations. I'm going to give you a recent example that you know is just insane. Is that like SpaceX was fined by the EPA $140,000 for they claimed dumping potable water on the ground, drinking water. So, and we're like, this is at Starbase, and we're like, we're in a tropical thunderstorm region. That stuff comes from the sky all the time. And
so insane.
And there was no actual harm done. You know, it was just water to cool the launch pad during liftoff, and there's zero harm done. Like, and they agree, yes, there's zero harm done. We're like, okay, so there's no harm done, and but you want us to pay a $140,000 fine? It's like, yes, because you didn't have a permit. Okay, we didn't know there was a permit needed for zero harm fresh water being on the ground in a place where fresh water falls from the sky all the time.
Next to the ocean.
Next to the ocean.
Because there's a little bit of water there too.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it rains so much the roads are flooded. So we're like, you know, how does this make any sense?
Yeah.
And then like then they were like, well, we're not going to process any more of your applications for launch, for Starship launch, unless you pay this $140,000. They just ransomed us, and we're like, okay, so we paid $140,000. But it's like, this is no good. I mean, at this rate, we're never going to get to Mars.
I mean, that's the confounding part here.
Yeah.
Is
exactly.
We're acting against our own self-interest. You know, when you look at, we do have to make, putting aside fresh water, but hey, you know, the rocket makes a lot of noise. So I'm certain there's some complaints about noise once in a while, but sometimes you want to have a party where you want to make progress, and there's a little bit of noise. Therefore, you know, we trade off a little bit of noise for massive progress or even fun.
Yep.
So, like, when did we stop being able to make those trade-offs? But talk about the difference between California and Texas, where you and I now reside.
Huge.
Texas, you were able to build the Gigafactory.
Can you guys imagine Jason, one of the most liberal people on here, actually moved to Texas? That says a lot about California.
I remember when you got the plot of land, and then it seemed like it was less than 2 years when you had the party to open it.
Yeah. From start of construction to completion was 14 months.
14
months.
Is there anywhere on the planet that would go faster? Is like China faster than that?
China was 11 months.
Got it. So Texas, China, 11 and 14 months. California, how many months?
And just to give you a sense of size, the Tesla Gigafactory in China is 3 times the size of the Pentagon.
Which was the biggest building in America?
No, there are bigger buildings, but the Pentagon's a pretty big one.
Yeah, or it was the biggest.
In units of Pentagon, it's like 3.
Okay, 3 Pentagons and counting.
Yeah.
Got it.
In 14 months. Just the regulatory approvals in California would have taken 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's the issue.
Where do you think the regulation helps? Like for the people that will say, we need some checks and balances. We can't have some, because for every good actor like you, there'll be a bad actor. So where's that line then? Yeah,
I mean, I have in sort of doing a sensible deregulation and reduction in the size of government is just like be very public about it and say like, which of these rules do you, if the public is really excited about a rule and wants to keep it, we'll just keep it. Yeah. And here's the thing about the rules: if the rule is turns out to be bad, we'll just put it right back. Okay, and then problem solved. It's like it's easy to add rules, but we don't actually have a process for getting rid of them. That's the issue. There's no garbage collection for rules.
Yep. Very well said. Hey, by the way, guys, for people that follow Hood, we're up 3.25% today. That's a nice way to be on Hood. Those calls are printing.
When we were watching you work, David and I and Antonio, in that first month at Twitter, which was all hands on deck, and you were doing zero-based budgeting, you really quickly got the costs under control. And then miraculously, everybody said this site will go down, and you added 50 more features. So maybe explain, because this is the first time.
Yeah, there were like so many articles like Twitter is dead forever. There's no way it could possibly even continue at all.
It was almost like the press was
like,
rooting for you to fail.
Let's write the obituary. Here's the obituary.
They're all saying their goodbyes on Twitter. Remember that?
Yeah.
They were all leaving and saying their goodbyes because the site was going to melt down. And
to totally fail and
all the journalists left.
Which is, if you ever want to like hang out with a bunch of hall monitors, oh my God, Threads is amazing. Every time I go over there and post, they're like, they're really triggered. But
I mean, if you like being condemned repeatedly, then for reasons that make no sense, then Threads is the way to go.
Yeah, it's really, it's the most miserable place on earth. If Disney's the happiest, this is the anti-Disney. Yeah. But if we were to go into government, you went into the Department of Education, or pick the department. You've worked with a lot of them, actually.
Sure.
You can't go in there in zero-based budget. Okay, we get it. But if you could just pair 2, 3, 4, 5% of those organizations, what kind of impact could that have?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to do more than that. I think
ideally, but compounding every year, 2 or 3% a year. I mean, it would be better than what's happening now.
Yeah, look, I think we've if Trump wins, and obviously I suspect there are people with mixed feelings about whether that should happen, but we do have an opportunity to do kind of a once-in-a-lifetime deregulation and reduction in the size of government. Because the other thing, besides the regulations, America is also going bankrupt extremely quickly. And everyone seems to be sort of whistling past the graveyard on this one. But
they're all grabbing the silverware. Everyone's stuffing their pockets in the silverware before the Titanic sinks. It's like,
well, the Defense Department budget is a very big budget. Okay, it's $1 trillion a year. DoD Intel, it's $1 trillion. And interest payments on the national debt just exceeded the Defense Department budget. They're over $1 trillion a year, just in interest, and rising. We're adding $1 trillion to our debt, which our kids and grandkids are going to have to pay somehow, every 3 months, and then soon it's going to be every 2 months, and then every month, and then the only thing we'll be able to pay is interest. And if this, it's just it's just like a person at scale that has racked up too much credit card debt, this does not have a good ending. And so we have to reduce the spending.
Let me ask one question, because I've brought this up a lot, and the counter-argument I hear, which I disagree with, but the counter-argument I hear from a lot of politicians is if we reduce spending, because right now if you add up federal, state, and local government spending, it's between 40 and 50% of GDP. So nearly half of our economy is supported by government spending, and nearly half of people in the United States are dependent directly or indirectly on government checks, and either through contractors that the government pays, or they're employed by government entity. So if you go in and you take too hard an axe too fast, you will have significant contraction, job loss, and recession. What's the balancing act, Elon? Just thinking realistically, because I'm 100% on board with you. The next set of steps, however, assume Trump wins and you become the chief DOGE.
Chief DOGE.
Chief Doge. And I think the challenge is how quickly can we go in? How quickly can things change? And without
I want that on my business card.
Yeah. without all the contraction and job loss. Yeah. So I guess how do you really address it when so much of the economy and so many people's jobs and livelihoods are dependent on government spending?
Well, I mean, I do think it's sort of it's a false dichotomy. It's not like no government spending is going to happen. You really have to say, like, is it the right level? And just remember that any given person, if they are doing things in a less efficient organization versus a more efficient organization, their contribution to the economy, their net output of goods and services will reduce. I mean, you've got a couple of clear examples between East Germany and West Germany, North Korea and South Korea. I mean, North Korea, they're starving. South Korea, it's like amazing.
It's the future. The compounding effect of productivity gains.
Yeah, it's night and day.
Yeah.
And so in the North Korea, you've got 100% government. In South Korea, you've got probably, 40% government. It's not zero. and yet you've got a standard of living that is probably 10 times higher in South Korea. At least, exactly. And then East and West Germany, in West Germany, you had, just thinking in terms of cars, I mean, you had BMW, Porsche, Audi, Mercedes, and East Germany, which is a random line on a map. The only car you could get was a Trabant, which is basically a lawnmower with a shell on it. And it was extremely unsafe. There was a 20-year wait. So you put your kid on the list as soon as they're conceived. And even then, only I think a quarter of people maybe got this lousy car. And it's just the same. So that's just an interesting example of basically the same people, different operating system. And it's not like West Germany was some a capitalist heaven. It's quite socialist actually. So when you look, probably it was half government in West Germany and 100% government in East Germany. And again, sort of call it at least a 5 to 10x standard of living difference, and even qualitatively vastly better. And it's obviously, sometimes people have these, amazingly in this modern era, this debate as to which system is better. Well, I'll tell you which system is better. The one that doesn't need to build the wall to keep people in. Okay, that's how you can tell. Okay,
Ain't that the
it's
truth?
a dead giveaway.
Spoiler alert.
Dead giveaway.
Are they climbing the wall
You guys are going to see
come
some
in?
great
You
stuff
have
later
to
in this
build
video.
a barrier to keep people in. That is the bad system. It wasn't West Berlin that built the wall. Okay, they're like, anyone who wants to flee West Berlin, go ahead.
Speaking of walls.
So and if you look at sort of the flux of boats from Cuba, there's a large number of boats from Cuba, and there's a bunch of free boats that anyone can take to go back to Cuba.
Yeah. Plenty of seats.
There's hey, wow, an abandoned boat. I could use this boat to go to Cuba, where they have communism. Awesome.
Yes.
And yet nobody picks up those boats and does it. Amazing. So
Give this a lot of thought.
Yeah.
Wait, so your point is jobs will be created. If we cut government spending in half, jobs will be created fast enough to make up for, just to count.
Yes, obviously, I'm not suggesting that people, have are immediately tossed out with no severance and can't pay their mortgage. There needs to be some reasonable off ramp where, so a reasonable off ramp where they're still earning, they're still receiving money, but have a year or two to find jobs in the private sector, which they will find. And then they will be in a different operating system. Again, you can see the difference. East Germany was incorporated into West Germany. Living standards in East Germany rose dramatically.
So in 4 years, if you could shrink the size of the government with Trump, what would be a good target? Just in terms of ballpark.
I mean, are you trying to get me assassinated before this even happens?
No. Pick a low number.
I mean, there's that old phrase, go postal. I mean, it's they might.
Yeah.
On me.
So we'll keep the post office.
I mean, I'm going to need a hell of a security detail, guys.
Yes.
I mean, the sheer number of disgruntled workers, former government employees, is quite a scary number. I mean, I might not make it.
I was saying low digits every year for 4 years would be palatable. Yeah, and I like your idea of an
but the thing is that if it's not done, if you have a once in a lifetime or once in a generation opportunity, and you don't take serious action, and then you have 4 years to get it done, and then if it doesn't get done, then
how serious is Trump about this? You've talked to him about it, yeah?
Yeah, I think he is very serious about it.
Got it.
And no, I think actually the reality is that if we get rid of nonsense regulations and shift people from the government sector to the private sector, we will have immense prosperity, and I think we'll have a golden age in this country, and it'll be fantastic.
I agree.
Can we talk about SpaceX?
If you guys want, real quickly, I agree 100%. If you want an age of abundance, this is what you need. You need the Trump presidency. You need Robert F. Kennedy. You need Tulsi Gabbard, you need J.D. Vance, you need Vivek, you need Balaji, you need Elon Musk, you need the Dream Team. You need all these guys that are going to be a part of this too in some way. You just need it. Our country needs it.
You have a bunch of critical milestones coming up.
Yeah, in fact, there's a very exciting launch that is maybe happening tonight. So if that
already happened, broke a bunch of records, woohoo!
If the weather is holding up, then I'm going to leave here, head to Cape Canaveral for the Polaris Dawn mission, which is a private mission funded by Jared Isaacman, and he's an awesome guy. And this will be the first time, the first commercial spacewalk, and it'll be at the highest altitude since Apollo. So it's the furthest from Earth that anyone's gone.
Record's broken. It's already happened.
And what comes after that? Let's assume that's successful.
I sure hope so, man.
I sure hope so.
No pressure.
Yeah, we're absolutely. Astronaut safety is Man, if I had like all the wishes I could say about that'd be the one to put on. So, space is dangerous. So, yeah, I mean, the next milestone after that would be the next flight of Starship, which so Starship the next flight of Starship is ready to fly. We are waiting for regulatory approval.
Yeah.
It really should not be possible to build a giant rocket faster than the paper can move from one desk to another.
Oh, so good. So good.
That stamp was really hard. Approved.
Yeah.
You ever see that movie Zootopia?
Approved.
You ever see that movie Zootopia? There's like a sloth.
Coming in for the approval.
Yeah, then he accidentally tell a joke, and I was like, oh no, this is
No, here we go.
This is going to take a long time.
Sorry.
But yeah, the Zootopia, the funny thing is, like, so I went to the DMV about, I don't know, a year later after Zootopia, and to get my...
So much bureaucracy in government. It's ridiculous. Elon's going to make some comments about that, I think, right now.
License renewal. And the guy, in an exercise of incredible self-awareness, had the sloth from Zootopia in his...
in his cube?
In his cube, and he was actually Swift.
Yeah. with the mandate, beat the sloth.
Yeah, no.
Beat personal agency.
No, I mean, sometimes people think the government is more competent than it is. I'm not saying that there aren't competent people in the government. They're just in an operating system that is inefficient. Once you move them to a more efficient operating system, their output is dramatically greater, as we've seen. When East Germany was reintegrated with West Germany, and the same people were vastly more prosperous with a basically half capitalist operating system. So, but I mean, for a lot of people, their maybe most direct experience with the government is the DMV. And then the important thing to remember is that the government is the DMV at scale.
Yes.
Right.
At the government.
Exactly.
How much do you want to scale it?
You don't.
Yeah.
Elon, sorry, can you go back to Chamath's question on Starship? So you announced just the other day Starship going to Mars in 2 years. And,
yeah, by the way.
Huh?
Yeah.
And then 4 years for crewed aspirational launch in the next window. I mean, and how much is the government involved?
I'm not saying like set your watch by these, but these, but based on our current progress, where with Starship we were able to successfully reach orbital velocity twice. We were able to achieve soft landings of the booster and the ship in water, and that's despite the ship having half its flaps cooked off. So you can see the video on the X platform. It's quite exciting. So we think we'll be able to have to launch reliably and repeatedly and quite quickly. And the fundamental holy grail breakthrough for rocketry, the fundamental breakthrough that is needed for life to become multiplanetary is a rapidly reusable, reliable rocket. RRR. Yeah. With a pirate somehow.
I love the acronyms this man comes up with. His new educational company is going to be called TITS. Texas Institute of Technology, something I don't even know. And then you've got actual smart summon for the car, and now you've got RRR.
Throw a pirate in there. So with Starship is the first rocket design where success is one of the possible outcomes with full reusability. So for any given project, you have to say, this is the circle, so about Venn diagrams. It has a circle, and it is success, the success dot in the circle. Is
who loves Venn diagrams? Kamala Harris.
Is success in the set of possible outcomes. That sounds pretty obvious, but there are often projects where success is not in the set of possible outcomes. And so Starship not only is full reusability in the set of possible outcomes, it is being proven with each launch, and I'm confident it will succeed. It's simply a matter of time. And if we can get some improvement in the speed of regulation, we could actually move a lot faster. So that would be very helpful. And in fact, if something isn't done about reducing regulation and sort of speeding up approvals, and to be clear, I'm not talking about anything unsafe. It's simply the processing of the safe thing can be done as fast as the rocket is built, not slower. Then we could become a spacefaring civilization and a multi-planet species, and be out there among the stars in the future. And there's, it's just very, it's incredibly important that we have things that we find inspiring, that you look to the future and say the future is going to be better than the past. things to look forward to. And like kids are a good way to assess this. Like, what are kids?
I 100% agree before he finishes his thought. My Cybertruck, kids love it. Adults, they'll be disgusted. Some people give me the middle finger. Some people coal roll me. People on the far left and right, people who hate Elon Musk and people that hate EVs, they all shit on this truck. And again, it's crazy looking. But kids scream. Kids are excited. They love it. I think that's the point he's getting ready to make.
It's fired up about. And if you can say, you could be an astronaut on Mars. You could maybe one day go beyond the solar system. We could make Star Trek, Starfleet Academy real.
Yep.
That is an exciting future. That is inspiring.
And they want it. Children want it.
You need things that move your heart.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like life can't just be about solving one miserable problem after another. Right. There's got to be things that you look forward to as well.
Yeah, and do you think you might have to move it to a different jurisdiction and to move faster? I've always wondered if
rocket technology is considered an advanced weapons technology, so we can't just go do it,
in another country.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting. And if we don't do it, other countries could do it.
If he wants.
I mean, they're so far behind us, but theoretically, there's a national security, justification here. If somebody can put their thinking caps on, like, do we want to have this technology that you're building, the team's working so hard on, stolen by other countries, and then maybe they don't have as much red tape?
I wish people were trying to steal it. So that no one's trying to steal it. It's just too. It's too crazy, basically.
Yeah. And that's for you. Yeah, it's way too crazy.
Elon, what do you think is going on that led to Boeing building the Starliner the way that they did? They were able to get it up.
Not complete.
But can't complete.
They can't finish.
Can't finish. And now they're going to have to go up and finish.
Well, I mean, I think Boeing is a company that is, they actually do so much business with the government. They have sort of impedance match to the government. So they're like basically one notch away from the government, maybe two. They're not far from the government from an efficiency standpoint because they derive so much of their revenue from the government. And a lot of people think, well, SpaceX is super dependent on the government, and actually, no, most of our revenue is commercial. And there's been, I think, at least up until perhaps recently, because they have a new CEO who actually shows up in the factory.
Yeah.
And the CEO before that, I think, had a degree in accounting and never went to the factory. And didn't know how airplanes flew.
This is insane. So he's saying that the last CEO that stepped down from Boeing didn't understand the mechanics of how airplanes fly, and it wasn't his area of expertise at all, but yet he was running Boeing, a company that is literally in charge of people's lives in the air, and also in space. Pretty nuts.
So I think if you are in charge of a company that makes airplanes fly and a spacecraft go to orbit,
you need to know
then it can't be a total mystery as to how they work. So, I'm like, sure, if somebody's like running Coke or Pepsi and they're like great at marketing or whatever, that's fine because it's not a sort of technology dependent business, or if they're running a financial consulting and their degrees in accounting, that makes sense. But I think if you're the cavalry captain, you should know how to ride a horse.
Pretty basic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
it's disconcerting if the cavalry captain just falls off the horse. He's not going to inspire the team.
I'm sorry, I'm scared of horses.
Gets on backwards. I'm like, oops.
Shifting gears to AI, Peter was here earlier and he was talking about how so far the only company to really make money off AI is NVIDIA with the chips. Do you have a sense yet of where you think the big applications will be from AI? Is it going to be enabling self-driving? Is it going to be enabling robots? Is it transforming industries? I mean, it's still, I think, early in terms of where the big business impact is going to be. Do you have a sense yet?
I think the spending on AI probably runs ahead of. It does run ahead of the revenue right now. There's no question about that. But the rate of improvement of AI is faster than any technology I've ever seen by far. And it's, for example, the Turing test used to be a thing. Now, your basic open source random LLM running on a friggin' Raspberry Pi probably could, beat the Turing test. So there's, I think actually, the good future of AI is one of immense prosperity, where there is an age of abundance, no shortage of goods and services. Everyone can have whatever they want, except for things we artificially define to be scarce, like some special artwork. But anything that is a manufactured good or provided service will, I think, with the advent of AI plus robotics, that the cost of goods and services will trend to zero. Like, I'm not saying it'll be actually zero, but it'll be, everyone will be able to have anything they want. Mm-hmm. That's the good future. And of course, in my view, that's probably 80% likely. So look on the bright side. Only 20%. 20% probably of annihilation. It's nothing.
Is the 20% like? What does that look like?
I don't know, man. I mean, frankly, I do have to go engage in some degree of deliberate suspension of disbelief with respect to AI in order to sleep well, and even then, because I think the actual issue, the most likely issue, is like, well, how do we find meaning in a world where AI can do everything we can do a bit better? That is perhaps the bigger challenge. Although, at this point, I know more and more people who are retired, and they seem to enjoy that life. So, but I think that maybe there'll be some crisis of meaning, because the computer can do everything you can do, but better. So maybe that'll be a challenge. But really, you need the sort of end effectors. You need the autonomous cars, and you need the sort of humanoid robots or general purpose robots. But once you have general purpose humanoid robots and autonomous vehicles, you can build anything. And I think that there's no actual limit to the size of the economy. I mean, there's obviously the massive Earth, like that will be one limit. But the economy is really just the average productivity per person times number of people. That's the economy. And if you've got humanoid robots that can do, when there's no real limit on the number of humanoid robots, and they can operate very intelligently, then there's no actual limit to the economy. There's no meaningful limit to the economy.
You guys just turned on Colossus, which is like the largest private compute cluster, I guess, of GPUs anywhere. Is that right?
It's the most powerful supercomputer of any kind.
Which sort of speaks to what David said and kind of what Peter said, which is a lot of the kind of economic value so far of AI has entirely gone to NVIDIA. But there are people with alternatives, and you're actually one with an alternative. Now, you have a very specific case because Dojo is really about images and large images, huge video. So,
the Tesla problem is different from the sort of LLM problem. The nature of the intelligence is actually, and what matters in the AI is different to the point you just made, which is that in Tesla's case, the context length is very long. So we've got gigabytes of context.
Gigabyte context windows, yeah.
Yeah, you've got, sort of,
I was just bringing it up.
Kind of billions of tokens of context, right. Nutty amount of context, because you've got seven cameras, and if you've got several, let's say you've got a minute of several high-def cameras, then that's gigabytes. So you need to compress. So the Tesla problem is you've got to compress a gigantic context into the pixels that actually matter, and condense that over a time. And so you've got in both the time dimension and the space dimension, you've got to compress the pixels in space and the pixels over in time, and then have that inference done on a tiny computer, relatively speaking, a small, a few hundred watts. It's a Tesla-designed AI.
It's insane how technology works and AI even works right now. It's just fucking phenomenal.
Inference computer, which is, by the way, still the best. There isn't a better thing we could buy from suppliers. So the Tesla-designed AI inference computer that's in the cars is better than anything we could buy from any supplier. Just by the way, that's kind of a.
By the way,
the Tesla AI chip team is extremely good.
Well, you guys, in the design, there was a technical paper and there was a deck that somebody on your team from Tesla published, and it was stunning to me. You designed your own transport control layer over Ethernet. You're like, Ethernet's not good enough for us.
Yeah.
So you have this TT COE or something, and you're like, we're just going to reinvent Ethernet and string these chips. It's pretty incredible stuff that's happening over there.
Yeah. No, the Tesla chip design team is extremely good.
But is there a world where, for example, other people over time that need, some sort of video use case or image use case could theoretically, you'd say, why not? I have some extra cycles over here, so it should kind of make you a competitor of NVIDIA. It's not intentionally per se, but.
Yeah, I mean,
It's going to be interesting to see what Elon says here, but I do think that they're going to end up being a competitor to NVIDIA with Dojo, and I think that's going to come quicker than people realize. But NVIDIA is going to be big for a while.
There's training and inference, and we do have those two projects at Tesla. We've got Dojo, which is the training computer, and then our inference chip, which is in every car, inference computer. So, and Dojo, we've only had Dojo 1. Dojo 2 is, we should have Dojo 2 in volume towards the end of next year. And that will be, we think, sort of comparable to sort of a V200 type system, a training system. So I guess there's some potential for that to be used as a service. Dojo is just kind of like, I mean, I guess I have like some improved confidence in Dojo, but I think we won't really know how good Dojo is until probably version 3. Like, it usually takes 3 major iterations on a technology for it to be excellent, and we'll only have the second major iteration next year. The third iteration, I don't know, maybe late, 26 or something like that.
How's the Optimus project going? I remember we talked last, and you said this publicly, that it's in doing some light testing inside the factory. So it's actually being useful. What's the build of materials, and when, for something like that at scale? So when you start making it like you're making the Model 3 now, and there's 1 million of them coming off the factory line, what would they cost? $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, you think?
Yeah, I've discovered really that,
my bad.
Anything made in sufficient volume will asymptotically approach the cost.
He said sub 20. It'll be interesting to see if he says more than that.
Of its materials. So now some things are constrained by the cost of intellectual property and like paying for patents and stuff. So a lot of what's in a chip is like paying royalties and depreciation of the chip fab. So, but the actual marginal cost of the chips is very low. So Optimus, it obviously is a humanoid robot. It weighs much less and is much smaller than a car. So you could expect that in high volume, and I'd say you also probably need three production versions of Optimus. So you need to refine the design at least three major times, and then you need to scale production to sort of the 1 million unit plus per year level. And I think at that point, the cost, the labor and materials on Optimus is probably not much more than $10,000.
Yeah, and that's a decade-long journey, maybe?
Basically, think of it like the Optimus will cost less than a small car.
Right.
So at scale volume with 3 major iterations of technology, and so if a small car, costs $25,000, it's probably like $20,000 for an Optimus, for a humanoid robot that can be your body, like a combination of R2D2 and C3PO, but better.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think people are going to get really attached to their humanoid robot because, like you look at you watch Star Wars, and it's like R2D2 and C3PO. I love those guys.
Yeah.
They're awesome. And their personality, and all R2 could do is just beep at you. Guys couldn't speak English. You need C3PO to translate the beeps.
So you're in year 2 of that. If you did 2 or 3 years per iteration or something, it's a decade-long journey for this to hit some sort of scale.
I would say major iterations are less than 2 years. So
wow.
It's probably on the order of 5 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 to get to 1 million units a year.
And at that price point, everybody can afford one on planet Earth.
5 years.
It's going to be that
maybe
1-to-1,
6.
2-to-1. What do you think ultimately if we're sitting here?
I'm sorry, 5 to 6 years to have a million. That's a horrible look of Elon. To have 1 million production run rate. Insane.
In 30 years, the number of robots on the planet versus humans.
Yeah, I think the number of robots will vastly exceed the number of humans.
Vastly, yeah.
Vastly exceed. You have to say, like, who would not want their robot buddy? Everyone wants a robot buddy.
Totally.
It's just like, especially if it can, it can take care of take your dog for a walk. It could, mow the lawn. It could watch your kids. It could, it could teach your kids. It could.
We could also send it to Mars.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can send a lot of robots to Mars to do the work needed to make it a colonized planet for humans.
And Mars is already the robot planet. There's like a whole bunch of robots, like rovers and
only robots.
Helicopter. Yes, only robots. Yeah. I think the sort of useful humanoid robot opportunity is the single biggest opportunity ever. because if you assume like, I mean, I think the ratio of humanoid robots to humans is going to be at least 2 to 1, maybe 3 to 1. Because everybody will want one, and then there'll be a bunch of robots that you don't see that are making goods and services.
And you think it's one generalized robot that then learns how to do different tasks, or?
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, we are a generalized.
Yeah, we're a generalized.
We're just made of meat.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
We're a meat bot. We're generalized
meat and water.
Yeah, I mean, I'm operating my meat puppet, you know. Yeah, we are actually
totally much
and
easier
by the way,
and
it
safer.
turns out, like,
They won't be
as we're
moving at
designing
80
Optimus,
miles an
we
hour.
sort of learn more and more about why humans are shaped the way they're shaped, and and why we have 5 fingers and why your little finger is smaller than your index finger. Obviously why you have opposable thumbs, but also why, for example, the major muscles that operate your hand are actually in your forearm, and your fingers are primarily operated like the muscles that actuate your fingers are located. The vast majority of your finger strength is actually coming from your forearm, and your fingers are being operated by tendons, little strings. And so the current version of the Optimus hand has the actuators in the hand, and has only 11 degrees of freedom. So it doesn't have all the degrees of freedom of human hand, which has, depending on how you count it, roughly 25 degrees of freedom. Right. And it's also like not strong enough in certain ways because the actuators have to fit in the hand. So the next generation Optimus hand, which we have in prototype form, the actuators have moved to the forearm, just like a human, and they operate the fingers through cables, just like the human hand. And then the next generation hand has 22 degrees of freedom, which we think is enough to do almost anything that a human can do.
And presumably, I think it was written that X and Tesla may work together and provide services. But my immediate thought went to, if you just provide a grok to the robot, then the robot has a personality and can process voice and video and images and all of that stuff.
As we wrap here, I think everybody talks about all the projects you're working on, but people don't know you have a great sense of humor.
Oh, here comes the good part. Make sure you smash the like, throw it out in some comments, guys. This is the good part, if you haven't seen it already.
That's not true.
Oh, you do. People don't see it, but I would say, I know for me, the funniest week of my life, or one of the funniest, was when you did SNL, and I got to tag along. Maybe you saw it. Maybe behind the scenes, some of your funniest recollections of that chaotic, insane week when we laughed for 12 hours a day. It was a little terrorizing on the first couple of days, but.
Yeah, I was a bit worried at the beginning there because, frankly, nothing was funny.
Day one was rough.
Yeah, so, I mean.
It's like a rule, but can't you guys just say it? Just say the stuff that got on the cutting.
The funniest skits were the ones they didn't let you do.
That's what I'm saying. Can you just say it?
There were a couple of funny ones, that they didn't let you do.
You can say it so that he doesn't get.
I mean, how much time do we have here?
Well, we should just give him 1 or 2, because it was, in your mind, which one do we regret most not getting on air?
Do you really want to hear that? I mean,
it was a little spicy.
So
it was
good.
A little funny.
So good.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right, here we go, guys. All right. So one of the things that I think everyone's been sort of wondering this whole time is Saturday Night Live actually live? Live, or do they have a delay, or just in case there's a wardrobe malfunction or something like that? Is it a
truly live
5-second delay? What's really going on? But there's a way to test this.
Right. We came up with a way.
There's a way to test this, which is we don't tell them what's going on. I walk on and say, this is the script. I'll throw it on the ground. We're going to find out tonight, right now,
if Saturday
Night Live is actually live. And the way that we're going to do this is I'm going to take my cock out.
Look at her face. Look at her face.
This is the greatest pitch ever.
And if you see my cock, you know it's true. And if you don't, it's been a lie.
It's been a lie. All these years.
All these years.
Now this is.
We're going to bust them right now.
And we're pitching this.
Yeah. So we're pitching this
on Zoom.
Yeah, we're pitching this on Zoom on like a Monday after. We're we're kind of hungover from the weekend, and we're pitching this at noon.
Yeah.
And it's Jason's on, and
Mike and you.
And Mike. So essentially got
Jason is one of the original contributors to his Tesla startup and everything he's done. I know it sounds weird, but yeah, they're good friends.
But my friends, I think, are sort of, quite funny. Jason's quite funny. I think like Jason's the closest thing to Cartman that exists in the real life.
We have a joke going that he's Butters and I'm Cartman.
Yeah. So, and then my friend Mike's pretty funny too. So we come in just
Guns blazing.
Guns blazing with like ideas, and we didn't realize like actually that's not how it works, and that's.
I'm sorry, I got to interrupt. Watch Jason. You'll never be able to unsee this. He's always waiting to speak. Watch his mouth.
That's normally like actors, and they just get told what to do. I'm like, oh,
right.
What, you mean we can't just like do funny things that we thought of? What?
They're watching this, and on the Zoom, they're aghast at Elon's pitch.
Yeah, it's silence. Like so, I'm like, and I was like, is this thing working? Is this?
Are we muted?
Is that mic on?
And they're like, we hear you.
Yeah, and then after a long silence, like Mike just says the word crickets.
And they're not laughing.
And they're not even a chuckle. I'm like, what's going on?
And then
here?
Elon explains the punchline.
Yeah, imagine being these people.
So,
it's Monday.
There's more to it. Okay.
Yes.
Can you imagine being these people?
That's just the beginning.
So Elon says.
So I'm like, I say like I'm gonna reach down.
Into my pants.
Into my pants, and I stick my hand in my pants, and I'm gonna pull my cock out. And I tell this to the audience, and the audience is gonna be like, "Go what?"
Right.
And then I pull out a baby rooster.
Yes.
And it's like
this would have been hilarious.
Kind of
way better.
It's like not that bad. It's like this is my tiny cock, and it's like. What do you think?
And so then,
it gets better.
Nice?
It gets better.
I mean, I like
and
it.
I pitch. I'm like, and then Kate McKinnon walks out.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, oh no, but you haven't heard half of it. Kate McKinnon comes out.
Yeah.
And she says, Elon, I expected you would have a bigger cock.
Yeah. I was like, I don't mean to disappoint you, Kate, but yeah. But I hope you like it anyway.
And then Kate,
but Kate's got to come out with her cat, okay?
Right.
So.
And Kate says.
You can see where this is going. And I say, nice. Wow, that's a nice pussy you've got there, Kate. Wow, that's amazing. It looks a little wet. Was it raining outside?
Oh my God. This would have been so good.
And then.
Do you mind if I stroke your pussy? Is that cool? It's like, oh no, Elon. Actually, can I hold your cock? Of course, Kate. You definitely hold my cock. And then we exchange. And I think just the audio version of this is pretty good.
Right.
It's just like, wow, I really like stroking your cock. And I was like,
and then Elon says, I'm really enjoying stroking your pussy.
Yes, of course. And yeah, so
they're looking at us like, oh my God, what have we done inviting these lunatics on the program?
Yeah, and they said like, well, it is Mother's Day.
It's Mother's Day. We might not want to go with this one.
A lot of moms in the audience. And I'm like, well, that's a good point. Well,
fair.
It might be a bit uncomfortable for all the moms in the audience. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe they'll dig it.
Maybe they'll like it.
Yeah, that was.
I love this man so much. What do you guys think? Is Elon not the best? These women are crying.
We didn't get that on the air. But we did fight for Doge.
Yes.
And we got Doge on the air.
I mean, there's a bunch of things that I said that were just not on the script. Like they have these like cue cards for what you're supposed to say, and I just didn't say it. I just went off the rails.
Yeah. They didn't see that coming.
Yeah, it's live.
Yeah, it's live.
And so Elon wanted to do Doge. This is the other one. And he wanted to do Doge on late night. And he says, hey, Jake Al, can you make sure?
Oh, yeah. I want to do the Doge Father. Like you sort of redo the, that scene from the Godfather. I mean, you kind of need the music to cue things up.
You bring me on my daughter's wedding. Listen, you asked for Doge.
Yeah, you got Marlon Brando
and
in
I
the
give
scene.
you Bitcoin, but you want Doge.
Exactly. You really got to set the mood. You got the tuxedo and the sort of dark office and the you got to have like Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
You come to me on this day of my daughter's wedding, and you ask me for your private keys. Are you even a friend? You call me the Doge Father.
So
buonasera.
So
that's potential.
They had great potential. So they come to
Not
me,
as good
and
as the other
I'm
one,
talking to Colin and Jost, who's got a great sense of humor. And he's amazing. He loves Elon, and he's like, we can't do it because of the law and stuff like that. And,
the law
and liability. So I said, it's okay. Elon called Comcast, and he put in an offer, and they just accepted it. Yeah. He just bought NBC, so it's fine.
Yeah.
And Colin Jost looks at me, and I sold it so good, and he's like, you're serious? I'm like, yep, we own NBC now.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well, that kind of changes things, doesn't it? I'm like, absolutely. You're a go on Doge.
Yeah. This poor guy.
And then he's like, you're fucking with me. And I'm fucking with you.
Or are we?
Or are we? It was the greatest week of, and that is 2 of 10 stories.
Yeah, we got a
We'll save the other 8.
Yeah.
But it was, and I was just so happy for you to see you have a great week of just joy and fun and letting go, because you were launching rockets, you're dealing with so much bullshit in your life. To have those moments, to share them and just laugh, it was just so great. And more of those moments. I think we gotta get you back on SNL. Who wants him back on SNL one more time? All right, ladies and gentlemen, our bestie, Elon Musk.
Standing ovation. Nothing but. Wouldn't it have been funny if they actually did buy the station just in order to be able to do their SNL skit? I could see Elon doing that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Elon is my favorite CEO of any company in the world, and one of the most brilliant people I think we've seen in 1,000 years. I know that sounds hyperbole to some people, but I love listening to everything he has to say, any insights he provides. And thank you guys for being a part of this. Let's see what we got here. Heinz says, it's good to see the richest man in the world have a good sense of humor and be light on himself. You have to be, right? If you're in the public eye and you can't handle criticism, and you got to be able to enjoy life and have a good time and take it only so seriously. I don't see how he'd make it otherwise. I used to take life seriously, and it was the worst thing I did. Now I just enjoy it, realize how precious it is, and then just work, as hard as I can at trying to benefit others and making sure that I have purpose. And this man is a great example of that. He's probably the best right now. Luke Automata, he's not a stiff dick like most CEOs. Seems super down to earth too. He's just a real person, man. I watched this guy. I watched him the first time I watched Elon and really just realized how amazing he is and how much empathy he has for humanity. Was an interview, a 60 Minutes interview with a lady in Australia talking about how poor and how people were having to make decisions about food. People that were elderly were having to make decisions about eating or paying their electricity bills so that they could have air conditioning because they were in the western part of the country and it was so hot and dry and the costs were so out of control that these people literally had to figure out if they were going to eat, if they could afford to feed their pets anymore. Just horrible shit. And he started to tear up and said, I didn't realize that. And what was his response? What would a person's response be? It's not his problem. He didn't do this. He's trying to help the situation. They were asking him about the battery packs he's going to be putting there. He goes, I didn't realize that. I'm sorry to hear it. We'll do better. I just love this guy. I love him. I hope you guys do too. And Needs 55. Hey, what's up, buddy? Check out the whole thing if you didn't already. Definitely check out the end at the very least. Again, thank you to the 30+ people that showed up for this. I hope you got value out of it, and I'll always show content that I get personal value out of, and then I think you guys will too. Live fresh. Elon is the type of guy to drop everything in the world. The world needs a hero. Yes, he would drop everything in order to be the hero. He literally did that. He spent $44 billion to buy a shitty social media platform that was nothing compared to a company like Meta with WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook. And he paid a fortune for it, not so that he could control the media, but so that he could set it free and set people free and ensure that what he saw coming and what has been happening lately, it's so prophetic, it's insane. It's like he's literally the player in the Matrix right now, and we're just NPCs in his game, because he had the foresight to realize where the West was heading towards censorship and just bad things that could enslave us for generations, if not, an eternity. And he spent $44 billion to keep that from happening, man. He's a good dude. He's a good dude. He's one of the best that we have. I love you guys. I'm probably going to skip the AIP thing. I might do another video, but really I'm probably just going to wait until the market recap. So catch up with that. I think it's a beautiful day today. If we just glance over here at the portfolio, hasn't updated, but I think it's somewhere around here. Probably up 60,000. We'll see how we end with the day. I don't really care. It's a good one. It's a good day, guys. Just be happy. Enjoy life. Go out, touch some dirt, step in some grass, and enjoy yourselves. I will take it. You guys take it easy. I'm going to end this one real quick here with a quick video that is applicable to this situation. Peace out, guys. Bye.
Optimus, The robotic humanoid under development by Elon Musk's Tesla Inc. is sparking concerns around job security.
This is not financial advice, silly.
Robot just stole my job. I'm there like, oh my god. I blame it on Elon. He's taking all I got. Turned up to work and went to start my day. Was barely late, like 9:08. So took my coffee break. Then I got hungry, so I just stopped by the free buffet. But then to my dismay, I heard somebody say, "Attention humans, you have lost, you have not met your quota. Pack your belongings in a box, now it's over." Robot just stole my job. I'm there like, oh my god. I blame it on Elon. He's taking all I got. But I'm in management. I work hard every day. I need these benefits, health and 401k. How could they do this shit though? Where will I trade my crypto? I had a second monitor for Twitter. Where will it go? Somebody please stop the bus. I mean, not the fuss, but there's lots of us. And now you say you won't pay me to play ping pong because Optimus. I mean, who employs a damn humanoid? Some new droid for you to exploit, deploy to destroy your human droid. No lunch breaks, great, get a few deployed. Your time is up, human inferior to me. I'll take it from here, you're relieved of your duty. Robot just stole my job. I'm there like, oh my god. I blame it on Elon. He's taking all I got. Robot just stole my job. I'm there like, oh my god. I blame it on Elon. He's taking all I got. It's okay, human, please don't cry. You can always go and become a Twitter thread guy. Make pretty pictures with Midjourney on your new PC. Or make some YouTube videos about ChatGPT. Sucker. Robot just stole my job. I'm there like, oh my god. I blame it on Elon. He's taking all I got. Robot just stole my job. I'm there like, oh my god. I blame it on Elon. He's taking all I got.